are the Watchers on the Couch. We are the voices that guide the realms of men. We are the Night's Watch. Hello and welcome back. I am your host, Cal the Kingslayer. And today we're going to be talking about Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. I know a lot of people in the chat have been getting ready for this episode, and I know a bunch of us have been talking about it on Twitter and such, but I can't do that without my lovely co-host, the people over at House Archer Channel, Lord Tom and Lady Kimber. What is going on, guys?
Hello.
Oh. So I know we had a lot to talk about this episode, and it was just, I don't know, it was pretty divisive, I guess you could say, like how people felt about it. I know we're going to get to it in detail a little bit, but going in, though, to the episode, you guys are really psyched, right? I think that's what always happens to us. We get so hyped, we have our theories, we have all that, and when it doesn't go our way, kind of, or even like slightly our way, we kind of get disappointed. I mean, I don't want to give away how we felt about it yet, but like, you guys are really hyped about this episode, right? Like, along with pretty much everyone else in the world.
I was, yeah. I want to say as a disclaimer that because I've been getting attacked on the internet, on Facebook and such, since I started posting my opinions, that everything I say about this episode is just my opinions. So if you don't agree with me, I'm sorry, and your opinion is valid, but I'm salty, straight up warned.
Yeah, like that's what I was saying. Like, you know, like people are entitled to their opinions and such. So like, I can see why people enjoyed it. I can see why people don't like it. You know, that's the thing. And we're going to get into more detail about it a little bit later. But before they do that, we always start out with the name days and all our other stuff. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any name days for anybody. I don't know if you guys have any that you know of, but I know mine on Facebook and people from our community. I didn't really see any name days from my family or such. But you guys have any name days to call out? Because I don't even have the graphic because I didn't find any.
I don't. No.
I know next week we have a few to go over, so I was just wondering if this week we don't have any, right? I'm just making sure. All right, well, we'll say hi to people in the chat for a second real quick. We have Chip Channel, who's here with us. Eric Monroe, Union Brooks, welcome. You're new here. I've never seen you. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Rain, hey, girl, hey. Going down the list, who else do we have? TJ, how are you? Kimber, welcome as well. Delisha, how are you? And I think I saw, and Will Firefox, how are you? All right. Well, there are no links. This is like a group show. It's not on my channel completely kind of thing. So there's no links. Thank you. Yeah, so we do have a Take the Black segment. Like I said, if you do guys purchase a shirt made by our lovely artist, Janine Devine, you send a picture of you guys wearing that shirt. You could be featured in the Take the Black segment. And I know when we get to our outro at the end, I know Kimber has an announcement on a shirt as well. So make sure you guys check that out when she does that. But this week's featured, I guess, brother of the Night's Watch, who took the black, is Skye Inc. So thank you, Skye Inc., for supporting the channel. His link is in the description below as well, but he does stream over on YouTube, plays games like Apex Legends, Fortnite, as well as other RPGs and Mario Maker. So please go ahead and check him out. And thank you so much for supporting the channel and the show. All right, so after my third watch, yeah, so like, but the thing is, Eric, people might have gotten in your head by us like saying all the stuff that we had to say about the show. Yeah, watching the second time, I enjoyed it more. And like I said, I came at it with a different perspective as just a TV show viewer as opposed to a book reader as well. But we'll get into the more details of that in a second. But let's get started with Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. I think there's a few things that to note here. I remember Tom putting, I think, on Facebook saying, the night is dark and full of darkness, or whatever you put. Like, it was really funny. You know, you couldn't see anything. And Kimber also said the long night was not very long. So that is also true as well. Some good things to talk about before. All right, so I'll say the match starts out, like I'm too used to doing wrestling. The episode starts out with Sam being a bitch as per usual. That's how I literally wrote it down. I was wishing Raul was here for that. Unfortunately, he's not here for that. But Sam was being a bitch as per usual. So I broke it out to like pre-battle, initial battle, then some crypt scenes. Like, I don't know, I kind of mixed it up. So that's probably how I'll set it up through the images also. We see Tyrion grabbing some flagons of wine to bring down to the crypts because, you know, he likes to drink things. On the ramparts, we have Sansa and Arya. And on the front lines, we have people like, let's see who I've written down. On the front line, the dragons fly over. The Unsullied and Dothraki fall from outside the walls. Among those on the front lines are Podrick, Brienne, Grey Worm, Jaime, Tormund, Beric, the Hound, Gendry, Dolorous Ed, and Sam. Ser Jorah rides with the Dothraki alongside Dothraki as his ghost. And meanwhile, Jon and Dany are kind of like an overlook with the dragons, Drogon and Rhaegal, because their plan was to keep the dragons close enough that the Night King will show up and that they can attack him, not right over Bran, so that'll kind of discourage him from showing up. So one of the cool things I saw was I saw a rider, in the darkness. I did see one rider ride up, and I'm like, oh, cool, like it's cool that they brought what were they trying to negotiate or something? Like, what are they gonna do? They can't really talk, really. Are they like sign language or something? Maybe they could talk. We don't know. I saw one single rider ride up, but you couldn't really see well, obviously, because it was dark. But it turned out that single rider was Melisandre, and it was nice to see her again. Coming back for another battle here at Winterfell. She has Jorah. She speaks the language, the Dothraki language, and she has asked them to raise their swords. And when she raises the sword, she grabs them, speaks a little incantation, and I think in Valyrian, and lights all the Dothraki swords on fire, which I thought was a cool scene. And not only did it also, people said Melisandre and Beric were the MVPs of this episode because they lit up the screen when it was so dark. But yeah, this was actually a cool scene to see. The next scene was actually pretty cool too because, we're sorry, that's just the pre-battle. I do have the more battle scene coming up in a second. She does go inside and tell Davos that there's no need to execute her because she will not live to see the dawn. So far, what did you guys think of the episode? Just the pre-battle with still the music's still swelling. You see everyone taking their positions. I don't think the lighting was an issue as of yet. So up to this point, what did you guys think of the episode?
Yeah, the lighting definitely was an issue already. I remember when Melisandre showed up, we were happy because you could see once the fire swords happened.
Mind you, we had every light in the apartment off trying to watch the show too.
But I mean, I thought the first, this whole sequence was solid. I mean, you're complaining about Sam, but he's scared, as you should be. I don't know. I thought it was. I have no complaints about this sequence or anything like that. Melisandre showing up was cool.
We did call that. She kind of pulled a Gandalf move, and my mind was actually on Eric Monroe in the chat here the whole time that I saw Melisandre because she was Team Stannis, and that's his dude. So I was like, oh, Eric is going to like this, and I did talk to him about it, and he was a fan, and visually this looked awesome. It was nice to see a flaming sword other than, Beric's or Stannis's. We haven't really seen that, and although strategically what they end up doing is kind of dumb, visually it looked really awesome and beautiful, so I did enjoy that.
Yeah, so that the next thing is what we're going to talk about is with swords ablaze, the Dothraki ride out. Why are you riding out? See, so as soon as I saw them riding out into the darkness, I'm like, why are you guys riding out?
Because it looks cool, Cal. That's the whole episode. It looks cool.
It looks cool. It looks cool, but the thing is, obviously you're going into dark territory where they are, and you don't know how many of them there are because you can't see them. But the reason why it is a good strategy is because the Dothraki are known for being riders, right? You can't just stand steady with a horse and try to fight, which you can, obviously, but their strength is in their riding and their fighting. That's why they rode out. Also to pull the battle away from Winterfell as well. So that's the two positive strategic things at it. But when you look at it from our perspective, like, why are you doing that? You're so dumb going into the battle. So it's a cool shot that we see.
Strategically, it's dumb too, Cal.
Not for Dothraki.
Why would you only set the Dothraki out in order to make distance? You never send cavalry first, but Game of Thrones loves to.
I think that they've literally had military strategists criticizing the battle strategies in this episode.
No, but I'm saying for the Dothraki alone, that's what they're known to do. That's pretty much it. But
I understand, but Jon's supposed to be a master commander, and just because that's what they do doesn't mean that that's best for their army.
Yeah, he's not arguing with you, Cal. We're just mad at the show. Yeah, to be clear.
No, but when has Jon ever been a good strategist if you think about it? Because
in the books,
in the books, he's an awesome strategist.
The battle. No, I'm talking about the battle in the show. The Battle of the Bastards. How he kind of went out, the whole Rickon thing.
Well, that was emotional.
Ramsay and that. Yeah. So, But yeah, so they went out, and it's cool to see that the fire gets extinguished. Like you see, like slowly, like you see the wave of fire going forward, it getting stymied, and then being the wave kind of being extinguished or snuffed out because the dead are taking over. So let me see if I have anything else between that.
It certainly looked cool. Like from a TV standpoint, they really they gave us something that we've never really seen before on TV. This was a really unique scene. Just I'm not sure if the whole concept in a real battle setting holds water, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I did see the article, but I didn't read the article about the military strategist. I should look it up though, because I think it's on IGN or something. They also launched balls of fire that were from the trebuchets. The attack is quickly snuffed out. Jorah rides back with a few surviving Dothraki, but like as people are saying in the chat, we don't really see Ghost come back, so we weren't sure. The army of the dead charges the Unsullied, and the heroes are quickly overwhelmed. Dany's like, I gotta go. I have to help them because I can't stand here idly while we're losing people. She's like, well, we can't do that. She's like, the dead are already here. I have to fight.
She should have led with that, to be honest.
The Night King is coming, John said, but no, the dead are already here. So she started lighting, the hordes of whites on fire, which is really cool. This is an awesome scene to see as well. At that same time, John actually gets on Rhaegal and he sees the generals they're mounted on their horses. He's like, you know what? I could probably wipe out a lot of people if I take out the generals, because if you kill one of the generals, the White Walkers, whatever ones they sired, are also killed as well. But as he's doing it, a freak storm, which I think is probably some magic aspect to it, comes and pretty much makes it impossible for them to see in the snow. They're really cold. The dragons are cold, so it impedes their progress and such. On the ramparts, we see Arya tell Sansa, go down to the crypts. There's no place for you, and she gives him a dragon glass dagger. She goes, I don't know how to use it, and it's a callback. Stick them with the pointy ends. Callback. Despite the dragon fire, the heroes are still overwhelmed. Sam is jumped by a white, and he's saved by Dolorous Ed, but unfortunately Dolorous Ed is killed, stabbed in the back by a white and killed. So that's our first major death, if you want to call it a major death. Because I consider major death anyone that's not like a background player or white, pretty much, or a White Walker. I think my question was living major characters. How many of them will die? So this was the first major living character to die. Sam gets freaked out again. Sansa arrives at the crypts, and Tormund calls for a retreat. So Dany and Jon are struggling through the storm. Flying through the storm, Tormund calls for a retreat. Lyanna orders the gates to be open, and at this point, we see like the Unsullied Grey Worm kind of backed off a little bit, but he also called for them to cover the retreat, which is crazy. Like they're so. I mean, that they always say the Unsullied are like the best fighters. They don't have any fear. They don't. They just stay there while they cover the retreat, which is crazy. They have thousands of dead, whites coming at you, and they just stay there and hold their ground as best as they can. So that was pretty cool to see the Unsullied really do their job. So Grey Worm gives the order to light the trenches. So Davos signal, but Dany can't see through the storm. So then we see Melisandre come out, and the Unsullied kind of form a phalanx around her to protect her as she reads her incantation or says her incantation. And then she lights the trenches on fire. So that was pretty awesome to see. That was another cool visual effect as it rung around Winterfell. Back in the crypts, Tyrion wants to go out to fight, but Sansa goes, the best thing they can do is stay in the crypts. Tyrion then says, I wonder if it would have been better if they'd stayed married. But Sansa said it would pose a problem because your loyalty would have been torn between myself and your queen. And then, Missandei speaks up saying, like you guys wouldn't even be in the situation if it wasn't for the Dragon Queen who's saving you right now. Meanwhile, in the Godswood, Theon says that they lit the trench, and he tries to apologize for what he did, but once again, Bran says, everything you've done brought us to this point. And then Bran goes, I have to go now. And he wargs into crows, and we'll talk about that next scene in a little bit, what you call the second battle. But up to now, when we get up, the initial battle sequence and the Godswood scene, the crypt scene, how'd you guys find this so far?
Well, I've been on the Sansa and Tyrion train recently, so that was probably my favorite part of this episode, that they were really steering into teasing them possibly back together as a couple, or I potentially want them maybe leading later on if everybody else is dead, is kind of how I picture it. But it's really hard for me to make any assumptions about what's going to happen at this point because they derailed all of my hopes and dreams with this episode. But so I did like the Sansa and Tyrion stuff. I thought it was really sweet. I really liked when she was like, you were the best of them. You know, I thought that was the one scene in the whole thing that got me kind of choked up. I'm pretty much fine with everything that's happened till this point. That seemed, you know, Ed was probably one of the better choices to lose this early on, because we've had Ed from the beginning, and it's like, oh man, like that sucks. You know, that's one of the, besides like Pip and Gren, who we've already lost, that was like one of his OG brothers. Really, we just have Sam and John now at this point. So that, you know, I did feel it when we lost him. What do you think?
Is this are we dealing with the snow yet?
Yeah, the snow that came in to stop.
Why you already made the episode dark? You're gonna make it even harder to see with the snow.
Yes.
Like if it was the snow alone and that was half the episode, I would have been fine. I would have been okay. I get it. It's hard to see up there, but it was just a poor choice.
It also just felt like another thing that they were making up as they went along to that crazy magic.
Yeah,
snowstorm.
you don't think that the Night's King would have used his magical snowstorms at where's the Hardhome?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Maybe he didn't reach the power level yet. He was still training. I don't know.
His
as well. Do they freeze?
powers are stronger.
What?
Oh, you said you froze for a second. You said his power, and like you froze.
Oh, I said his power gets stronger the farther away from the north he is, where it's less winter. I'm being sarcastic.
But he also has more followers, so maybe he feeds off his followers.
I don't know. The whole point that the Night King works on vampire rules is so dumb. It's so dumb.
The thing with the Night King is they put themselves into a corner with it. They made up this character for the show because he's not in the books, and they tried to make him this super deadly, unbeatable, mysterious thing. And it got to a point where they made him so like OP that they had no way to defeat him. So they came up with this vampire rules thing so that they would have a way to like get rid of him. And by vampire rules, we mean if you kill the alpha, the people that he's turned get taken down. It's take it away, Cal. Just you go ahead.
Which takes away from the strategy, which we'll talk about towards the end of the episode, because of the critical moment that happens at the end of the episode. We can talk about. But let's leave this to this. Speaking of said Night King, when Bran wargs, he sees the Night King arrive and stick out his hand, which he's ordering the whites to start sacrificing themselves onto the pyres. That way they can form a bridge that the rest of the whites can walk across. So now they make it up to the walls. They start scaling the walls. And the heroes start fighting back the dead on the walls. If you guys remember earlier, Brienne's getting kind of attacked, and Jaime saves her. Brienne returns the favor on the walls as he's now. I think it's that right. Brienne returns the favor on the walls as Jaime's being attacked now, and Brienne saves Jaime. So it's kind of the equal saving back and forth. Once again, Sandor Clegane is having a crisis of conscience because he's fear-soaked because of the fire and all that, and he thinks, "There's no way we can live through this because the dead are here. We can't beat the dead." Arya starts going badass. Their new her staff, killing lots of whites, and then she also uses that cool roll down, tumble move to get down the stairs over all the dead bodies. Beric is urging Sandor to fight, but Sandor's like, "I can't. There's no point in fighting." And then Beric points to Sansa, who kind of rolled down that hill, and says, "Tell her that a giant breaks through that gate at that point." Lyanna runs up to him and screams, and then the giant starts crushing her. As the giant pulls her up to his face, she pulls out a dragon glass dagger, stabs it in the eye, and kills it. But unfortunately, it also kills her. She's crushed to death. And that's the pretty much second major character to die at this point. We also have, I wrote it out like this: dragon battle in the sky. Viserion can fly twice as high. Just take a look. It's in a book. George R.R. Martin.
Not in the book.
Okay.
Hasn't written the book.
So there's a dragon battle between Rhaegal, Drogon, and Viserion. It's pretty cool to see the dragon battle. They go up really high above the clouds, and they swoop down as Viserion kind of disappears from the fight. But it was very visually stunning, in my opinion. I thought this looked really kind of cool. So your thoughts about our second major death and all the fighting we had up to some crisis of consciences, the saving people on the wall.
Here we go. Bran's working is the most useless thing in this whole episode. They only did it to give us a camera angle of the Night's King on the dragon's back. That's it. There is no other. He could have used those crows to help Jon lead him out of the the snow. He could have done something, but we just got a camera angle. As far as Lyanna, dope. Confirmed that Tormund's her dad. She's a Giant's Bane.
She is.
Because those not familiar, there's her mother has a bunch of kids and they don't know who the dad is, and then Tormund has this whole thing about making love to a bear, and bear is a house sigil, so people think that Tormund is actually Lyanna's mom in the book. Some people do. So I like that, especially because he just told us the Giant's Bane episode, or the story, the episode beforehand. Then back to the things I hate. The shot above the clouds was awesome because you could see it.
Beautiful.
And why did they use this episode to change how the Night King looked?
Yeah, his face did.
It was very distracting.
Yeah, because I think they want to show facial expressions and stuff like that. I think that's
the one facial expression he made.
Well, yeah,
he's just good at raising the corners of things, like his arms and his lips.
Yeah, I second that the Lyanna stuff was great. She obviously became a very unexpected fan favorite. When the Giant came in and just like knocked her away, I thought that was it with her, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, oh my god!
That's with how chaotic this army fights and stuff. That's how you expect these deaths.
Yeah, and that's more like Battle of the Bastards style. But oddly, this had the same director, and it was a very different style. But I do think it was nice to give her like a little hero's moment, but it is sad because like Jorah said, she really is the future of that house, and there she goes, like pretty much down goes the future of the Mormonts, which is an old proud house in Westeros.
She killed the only giant in all of the Night King's army.
Yeah, so she was awesome, but
that's the only giant that was there, so that's cool. That's a big.
I would saw. Theoretically, we know who killed the other one when we get to the end of the episode. People are saying that, and welcome Halo. People are saying, agreeing with you about well, Eric was hoping for ice spiders. This is his last hope for ice.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Eric is agreeing Brandon's the most useless character, but sadly he's important. Rain says Brandon's never done anything useful. Delisha says I was liking Brandon until the end of until this episode. Eric said I didn't mind him in season 1 though, but here we stand. How many houses have we lost in this past season? Delisha's asking. Quite a few, actually. You know, that's it. It's like how the show is going to wrap up with only 2 houses left in the whole world.
We've lost 3 since the beginning of this episode, or since the beginning of
this season.
The season.
Umbers.
Umbers. I think the car starts.
But that's later in the episode. But yeah, the car starts.
Ice spiders would have been great. Yeah, people are agreeing. Yeah, another thing about that, I saw another meme on the internet saying this war could have been over a long time ago, and it shows them tying dragon glass daggers to crows and having Bran just walk into the crows and just fly at the Night King. I'm like, I thought that was kind of funny too, if they could end the war. But obviously you can't have a show like that. Halo saying all the Dothraki are dead, at least all the men. But yeah, so far we did lose a lot of people, but we are going to lose some more. But yeah, so we ended with Lyanna dying and the dragon fight and the thing.
I saw a complaint online too that said that they just sent like all the people of color like left in the army out to die like immediately, like the Unsullied and the Dothraki, just like go ahead and die.
Yeah, it's not just the race thing though too. It's more like a class thing because the wildlings got thrown out there too.
Yeah, but that was another criticism I noticed.
Yeah, I've seen that in South Park too with the Operation. If you remember that South Park, the first movie, I think it was the first movie with Canada. They fought a war with Canada. Same thing. But yeah, I didn't think of that until you guys just said it. That is very true. But what's different though? What I do see in like this, as opposed to like how like wars are fought in real life kind of thing, where like at least in our culture, I should say, I guess, because like I'm not much of a history buff, but like the generals usually stayed in the back, right, and they commanded their army. Here, people like Jaime and Brienne and them are on the front lines, and George riding in with them. Like stuff like that. You don't really see that. They're usually commanding, not fighting. But obviously they got to that point because they fought their entire lives to get ranked up. But here you do see like it wasn't just Jorah rode with the Dothraki and stuff like that. So it's kind of see like a knight, which is crazy. Dothraki better use blame Canada, yeah. Better use surprise attack. Okay, well, the next scenes are in the halls of Winterfell where Arya's skulking about. Kind of like a callback to, where's Arya skulking about. And she's trying to avoid the dead. She does make a noise to attract one because she's escaping. She does kill one as she's leaving. However, then once she gets out the door, another door busts down and she's swarmed again. The crypts are alarmed because they start hearing people slamming on the door saying, let us in, let us in, let us in. As Arya busts through the door with the dead, Beric and Sandor save her. So you see Beric and Sandor arrive to save her. Beric is actually stabbed several times as they're trying to save her. And then they barricade themselves into the room, and then Beric succumbs to his wounds and dies. At that point, it's Beric's dead body, Melisandre and Sandor and Arya in a room, and Arya and Melisandre have a moment where she says, I saw you before, and I told you we'd meet again, and said you'd close eyes forever, brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes. And what do we say to the god of death? And she goes, not today, and she runs off.
Just runs off. No
just gets out a door that, maybe she jumped out a window. Who knows? Meanwhile, in the Godswood, the dead make it there, and Theon and the Ironborn prepare to make their last stand. This brings us to the dragon battle outside the second edition of a dragon battle. They continue to fight. The Night King is descending on Winterfell, and he has Viserion spew fire all over the towers and turrets of Winterfell. Drogon and Rhaegal start to thwart him, and they actually start cutting up his neck, which kind of adds to a cool effect a little later. And as that's happening, they knock him off the dragon, and he's just standing there. Like, oh, hey, here I am. Dany sees him standing there. She's like, this is my chance. She does her normal Dracarys and ignites the Night King on fire. And we think, hey, it's over, yay. Well, we don't think that, but, that's what they think, I guess. And cause they played Dany's heroic music, the music that she plays when she usually spews fire and stuff. They played her heroic music, and then I really enjoyed this moment. Actually, it takes about maybe like 7 seconds on camera. The fire fades away. The Night King comes out and he just gives a little smirk, and I thought it was cool. I thought
why is he immune to dragon fire? I think this is very dumb.
What I saw. Something today, actually. I don't know if I think I sent it. I might have sent it to you guys in the chat, because there's somebody who teaches a class about Game of Thrones at a university. What is going over that when you have like two opposite elements, they cancel each other out. That's what they were saying. That was their theory. Like the fire and ice cancel each other out.
But I was kind of always under the impression that Valyrian steel worked on the whites and the White Walkers because it was forged with dragon fire. Like dragon fire isn't regular fire; it's magical fire. So I don't understand then why Valyrian steel works if the dragon fire doesn't work.
It shouldn't.
Maybe he put up a barrier. Who knows? We didn't see.
Maybe it's poorly written and not well thought through.
Yeah. Well, see, at this point, I still enjoyed it. At that point, because I'm like, it's all about the whole book thing is like, there's a lot of magic and lore behind these guys, right? Like it's just really cool to see that, and that's why I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's right because there's some magic maybe, and that snowstorm too. I thought, oh, maybe it's because they use some magic and they caused the snow. Like I believe in magic. The more so that when I watch Harry Potter, I believed in magic at this point because it was great, and I was like, so I also invested in the Night King and the White Walkers because of, and this is what leads to how it went at the end.
You say there's all this lore, but like in the show there isn't. Where all the lore that we're cherry picking is from the books, which the Night King doesn't exist in. So it's
but the way I saw it was like, okay, maybe they're not gonna go over all the details of the books, where like with like magic and lore and all that. But we know as it's kind of like the fans who read the books know that there is magic and lore that exists. You know what I mean? And this is maybe the embodiment of the magic and lore in the books on the show. That's how I thought I saw it. I thought, and. They met. The first thing you see on the show is White Walkers. Like when the show before it's a cold opening. The episode 1, the pilot, the cold opening of the White Walkers. I mean, it's like the Royce boy and all that. Waymar Royce, I think his name is, on the two of their rangers going out, north of the wall. But the first main threat you see is the White Walkers. So I thought, the show is based around this kind of thing. Like it's like magic and enemies and all that kind of supernatural enemies. And so I thought, even if they don't go through all the lore in it, there is something supernatural, and that's maybe giving that to the readers. Like the readers of the book, they're giving these characters, or this major character, the Night King, this. And that's what I thought. Like there's a lot of magic behind it. And,
yeah, and I'm honestly,
you could also argue that Danny's dragons are magic.
Yeah, Danny's dragons are magic. And that's the thing, like, the inconsistencies here with the lore is really distracting and obnoxious and hurts the feelings of the book readers who have been fans of this for the longest and are the heaviest fans of Game of Thrones. They spent so much time reading the books and watching hundreds of hours of lore and reading the side books and that, and it just sucks that they would betray the book readers to do this sort of lowest common denominator, Michael Bay, let's put explosions and now there's fire, like it's just
lots of yelling.
Like I was talking to my friend James, who has been reading the book since ever there was a show, and he made me really sad because he said we're just not the target audience anymore, and that our watch has ended, and that breaks my heart because I really care a lot. Like there's this point of view coming from people where like, oh, if you're a real fan of the show, you're gonna love this episode. But I almost feel like I'm too much a fan to enjoy this episode. And like everyone's attacking me, but they don't understand that my heart is broken. Like stuff like this just killed me. Like I'm really sad that they just like, I didn't need them to match the books. They're not gonna match the books. There's missing characters, there's extra characters.
But don't introduce plot lines if you're not going to deliver on them.
Just do something that's consistent and makes sense. And that's my main issue with this.
It just makes me think that any book that's being turned into a TV show isn't for the book readers, because I'm having this problem since like the halfway through American Gods. So it's like
I know. Yeah, I mean, I did say that, and that, I showed you the conversation or the tweet thing that I have with some guy about this, and he kind of understood where I came from now and how much like passion I have for the show and as a book reader and all that. Like he kind of understood where I was at, and like. It does hurt, but we'll get to our feelings at the end of the show, at the end of the episode. But let's get to the rest of this episode. Any thoughts about from the halls of Winterfell till when the Night King is dismounted?
Yeah, the library scene was cool. I did enjoy that. I'm gonna miss Beric. Beric is a sexy character to me. I don't know what it is with me and Beric, but I'm gonna miss that guy. It seems like a wasted opportunity to have Melisandre in the room and for her to not try to revive him. But that's just me.
I thought this is where I started to think that this should have been, granted it was after the fact, but this should have been 2 episodes. And if it was the case, I feel like all of the grand battle and stuff could have been in 1 episode. And now the more condensed, the library scene, all the stuff on the ground could have been another episode. And I feel like the pacing would have been a little bit better and a little less harsh.
Eric's saying you love his voice, Beric's voice.
It's the eye patch too. And the flaming sword. He's sexy.
Another thing I think why Melisandre didn't revive him is because like he served his purpose. And honestly,
yeah,
she could have tried though. Like you could have had a little like.
I know. She said, "Go get the salt rub and all that kind of stuff." Yeah, I guess, but I think she said he served in her eyes. He served his purpose. But then again, if the Night King was going to use this major strategy of raising people, back to life, they have a dead guy in their room.
Yeah, and it's Beric. Throw his ass in the fireplace. Yeah. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
It'd been great if his sword just fell on him and it was like he automatically burned up.
Halo saying eye patches are sexy AF. Kiss of Life, yeah, that's what that would be cool to see. The Warlord's Kiss of Life, which is in the books and in the video games too. Actually, the video games have the Kiss of Life as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool to have that.
Yeah, I think it would have been impactful if she tried to revive him and then he didn't get revived, and then she was like, "I guess his purpose is served," instead of just being like,
just knowing everything and like acting like she's known the entire time.
Yeah.
Remember when I said eyes of blue? I knew this whole time. I knew, but yeah, instead said Stannis was. We'll get there. We'll get there, Cal.
All right. So after that, the Night King starts marching towards the Godswood. Jon sees him and starts running at him. And someone made a funny scene of this. I think I retweeted it, of the Monty Python scene where the guy's in the tower and sees the guy running like, ah, and then it zooms out and it zooms back and he's still running in the same spot like over and over and over. It's kind of like how long Jon took to run towards the Night King. Night King hears him, turns around, does his little shtick where he raises his hands, and all the dead on the battlefield get up. No, that's not the game I was talking about. It's the Game of Thrones game on Xbox. But not only those people rise, but the people in the crypts also rise, which we'll get to in a second. As the people outside the walls are being raised, the generals start. This is such an impending, cool cinematic scene where they're all walking in, like they're so badass, walking in, ready to go. Right? They're gonna be awesome, right? That's what we think. So they're walking past the gates of Winterfell, into the gates of Winterfell, and the crypts, the start coming alive. All the dead in there who are actually able to move and stuff come alive and start attacking, killing people in the crypts. I think we lose the Karstark girl as well as some other people. And there was a one that when I saw him, I thought it was Maester Lewin, but Starks are only buried in the crypts of Winterfell. So, but who knows? Maybe as an homage or like respect out of the character, they might have buried Maester Lewin. And I know they were running away at that point because Theon had the castle or pretty much lost the castle at that point. The Boltons were taking it, but they might have still buried him or quickly put him into the crypts or something. I don't know, but it looked like Maester Lewin because like I don't have the image, but it did look like him. Meanwhile, Jon is fighting all the dead outside that were just raised, and he's being overwhelmed. But of course, Deus Ex Machina, Dany comes and saves him, and he's like, "I gotta go save Bran." She's like, "Go!" And so she stays there looking at him as he runs off. Meanwhile, a lot of whites crawl onto Drogon, start stabbing him, and he's in pain. He throws Dany off his back. And flies off. And Dany's surrounded by a lot of whites. And what can she do? But nothing. But Jorah comes and saves her and starts defending her. And she actually starts defending herself later because she picks up a sword and starts fighting as well. Meanwhile, the Godswood, Theon and the Ironborn are pretty much losing. They're all pretty much. I think all the Ironborn are dead. It's just Theon left now, and he has no more arrows. So he starts fighting with a bow, and he also finds a staff as well. And in the crypts, Sansa kind of makes a stand. She's sitting there with Tyrion, and she pulls out her dagger and shows it to him. And then they hold hands, and I think Tyrion kisses her hand. They get up and start rushing at the whites, and they also find Varys and the other major characters like Gilly and Missandei there. And I guess they're going to try to fight for their lives to get out of there. So before we get to the third battle, we have. I guess next up was the Godswood scene. So before we get to that, any thoughts on what we are? And welcome Bubba as well.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. What did we just do?
Well, okay. So I really, really thought Jon was going to get to the Night King before his arms came all the way up, and I thought that could have been really cool. If he didn't get them all the way up, he stabbed them, even if it wasn't a fatal thing, because maybe the Night King doesn't shatter like all the other ones. Fine, I don't care. But if he did that and then the other whites fell around him, that would have been cool.
I was going to say that it was so dark in the crypts that I couldn't tell what the hell was going on. I was telling Tom, I'm like, are they busting out of the crypts? I can't see. I literally had to listen for people to see, to know what was going on. And again, a missed opportunity. You could have done a cool Stoneheart thing here.
Rickon.
I don't know what they're doing, man.
Then also we had the dragon thing where we talked about him, but what else did I cover? The crypts, and I covered.
Do you know where the safest place for Dany could have been the entire time?
In the sky.
In the fire.
Oh yeah, the fire as well. I guess.
Instead, just put her ass.
Literally, you watch her pull Jorah in front of her.
He does. She does a human shield.
She twice in a row, and then is all upset. It could have been I like the fact that she was holding her own a little bit. But she's never held a sword before, and I thought it'd been a little redeeming if she was in the fire and then just stabbing out into the dark. You know what I mean? There's just so many things that they establish all these. Traits that these characters have and stuff. And then when it's time to actually showcase them, they just ignore them and focus on one thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't have done that. I mean, that would have been a good idea to have her in the
or
fire.
At least a fake out. Jorah throws her into the fire to save her. Someone else is like, what the hell are you doing? And then she comes out of the fire. You know what I mean? Then she comes out of the fire and she smirks.
Yeah, Jorah throwing her to the fire would actually be a really cool idea, actually.
But it was an appropriate end for Jorah. His story was pretty much wrapping up. All he really had left was to get sacrificed to Dany, so that was all appropriate with him. But again, that's done, House Mormont. There they stand. That's it.
There they lay.
Yeah, right.
Who's made magically skilled with a weapon she's never used, Taylor? She wasn't really skilled if you're talking about Dany.
I liked the weapon. The weapon was a nice shout out to Simeon Star Eyes, who wielded a similar weapon to that. Who's an interesting character in the books. Who also was blind. So that was a cool little Easter egg with Arya. It's almost like they cared for a moment about book readers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Bubba was saying they should have set up the artillery first, then the things. Yeah, instead of doing it at the same time. Fireproof would have been awkward, naked awkward, I guess. But it would have made sense. Oh yeah. Any other thoughts before we move on to the Godswood scene?
No.
Theon's the boss.
All right. So here we go. Yep, Theon. Yeah. So we have Jon's advance is halted by Viserion, who is now in like the courtyard. The Night King has reached the Godswood with his generals. Theon looks at him. He knows what he has to do. Bran talks to him, and Bran turns to us. Well, Theon continues to fight onrushing whites to protect Bran. The Night King arrives with his generals. He tells Theon he's a good man and thanks him for everything he's done. Theon makes one last charge at the Night King. The Night King breaks the staff and uses his own staff against him. Theon collapses to the ground. Possibly dies. We don't know if he's dead yet. Possibly dies. We see him like spurt out blood and then like his eyes like glaze over. But we don't know if he's dead. I'd like to think Theon's still alive, but they're not gonna say all that stuff and keep him alive. But like I still didn't put I put everyone who died in bold. I didn't put Theon's death in bold, so I'm holding out because Stannis is still alive, so Theon can still be alive. So then at that point, Jorah is actually getting in the way of shots to protect Dany, so he's sacrificing his own body to save Dany. Remember, I also said that Dany did grab a sword to start fighting off. At this point, Jon faces off with Viserion. I don't know why, and just yells at him. I don't know why he did that.
Dumb. To me, so dumb.
And then we see the shot. Bran is face to face with the Night King. Night King starts to go for a sword. In the background, we see Shadow. Well, first cool cinematic we see the general there, and his hair blows slightly, and he looks to the side like, what was that? And then we see, the shot over the Night King's shoulder as he's getting his sword. Arya coming into scene with the dagger, the cat's paw dagger. He actually turns around, catches her arm, and chokes her. So he has his right arm on her hand to stop him from stopping her from stabbing him, and the left hand on the around her neck. And then she does, kind of like the move. I'll call back to the fight that she had with Brienne, switching hands. She drops the dagger out of her left hand, catches it in her right, and stabs the Night King, turning him to glass and causing all the other whites to die, including Viserion, before we blow blue fire onto Jon, and we see all the whites around Dany die, and her cradling Jorah's body. Then Drogon flies down next to her and kind of like comforts her in a way, like wrapping around him. So, there was a lot of talk about this dagger as well, because it was in Sam's book. It wasn't just, kind of like the dagger that was supposed to kill Bran saves his life. I know you guys have been waiting for this scene. So what do you guys have to say?
The Night King got killed by a dagger that couldn't even take Catelyn out. First thing.
I would love to see a fight between the Waif and the Night King.
Yeah, she couldn't even beat the Waif. I think that Arya is a fan favorite choice, and that's why people are forgiving this, because they're like in this whole glow of Arya.
She just got laid.
But,
she killed the Night King.
But to me, this was a completely unearned kill, because Arya's never seen a white in her entire life. So she has no connection to them. To me, there's 5 other characters that they could have easily done a similar thing with. Like, how sick would it have been if Theon was distracting and like Sam came up and killed the Night King? It would have been awesome.
No. I prefer the Arya thing over Sam.
I don't agree with you, but Arya, what's her connection to the whites? What's her connection to the Night King? She doesn't know them. It's not her mission. She has her own fucking mission.
When Melisandre said eyes of blue, why does that mean anything?
That made me throw up in my mouth. It's stupid. But like at least Sam like has a history enough to deserve in the story something like this. Like he was the first one in the story to kill a white. He killed his dad, and that's his whole thing, is that like even though he's kind of a bumbling character, when he comes down to it, he gets stuff done and he does these unbelievable things. Like to me, that would have meant so much more than this. Like Arya, they're like, oh, she's an awesome warrior, so she's gonna kill the Night King. It's not enough for me. There's no emotional payoff other than people just being attached to Arya. It was a cheap.
And if you're not going to do Azor Ahai, then why even mention it on the show? Why release stories being narrated by Melisandre on your DVDs? Like, why? Why give us all this false information to just, like, are they trying to fake us out? Because that's just lying to me. That's not subverting my expectations. Now, I do think that if Jon and the Night King were fighting, or somebody in the Night King were fighting, and then Arya came out and Howland raided at the Tower of Joy, my buddy James mentioned this, if that would have been more, like, I don't know, that would have felt more earned, because, like, that's her shtick. She sneaks up on people.
I mean, Jon should have at least been.
Not when there's, like, 10 generals on the side. Someone should have seen Arya. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mess for me. And then, like, people were talking about the music, and I do want to say I loved that piece of music. It was beautiful, but it did sound a lot like Light of the Seven, which could have been interesting had they done like an Ice Queen thing with Cersei, like tying in that thematic music with Cersei's thematic music, but they just killed the Night King, so it's just a ripoff of Light of the Seven, which is also kind of weak.
Like, Tyrion has checked more things off of the Azor Ahai list than anyone has had a chance to yet in this show. Like, he's killed the dragon. He's killed the woman he loves. You know what I mean? So, like, to give us all this stuff and it doesn't go anywhere is just so frustrating.
Prince who's promised, broken promise.
You know what? It feels like a ripoff of Lord of the Rings when they're like, you know, no man can kill Sauron.
Yeah.
And then a woman does it. And you're like, cool. And then they're like, you know, no one can kill the Night King. And then it's no one.
No one kills the Night. It's
like,
really corny. It's bad.
But like Tommy just brought up a good point that the DVDs bring up like Azor Ahai and all that, because so they do talk about the lore of the show. What?
Melisandre says it in the show. Like, she thinks Stannis is the.
I know, but yeah, I know.
Talk to Danny about it too.
Yeah.
All the background thing. No, yeah. Well, welcome to Billy, who's late as well. He said sorry for being late. And we think about the Faceless God. Bubba says we'll think about it. Faceless God is supposed to represent all gods, at least from my understanding. So they have a servant of the Faceless God kill the Night King, which makes sense. So he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And Billy, thank you. Cal, I think season solidified Jamie is one of my favorites. Yeah, I do agree. That would have been awesome if like if they did like a callback to the Howland raid scene with Jon fighting the Night King, and then that. Other people say, what if like Arya was disguised as Bran? I think you'd have to kill Bran to get his face first of all, unless they magical way that I don't know about. But
people are just like saying that Arya is Azor Ahai, but it's like
you have to meet criteria.
Yeah, there's criteria to be Azor Ahai, and she doesn't meet those things. And it's never been anything that's brought up in connection with her at all.
Sir Pounce fits better.
Yeah. He's Union saying in the chat that she's connected to Jon. That's not part of that's not part of the requirement, unfortunately, to be Azor Ahai. So
Kinvara said it in season 6 to Danny. That is Danny. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Did it look cool for fans who just watched the TV show? Yeah, it was a cool cinematic scene. I thought, like her face coming out of nowhere. You know, the switch, the slow motion. Because I did enjoy watching the fans' reactions. Like people who don't, I don't think they read the books, but like seeing bars full of people watching that, like just seeing that scene, they're like gasping when he caught her. But then like she switches the blade, like that was fun to watch. I did enjoy the fan reactions, but in my own personal reaction, I was like, damn, like I had the same thing as you guys. Like I really was hoping it was Jon or anybody pretty much else, almost everything else.
I think that people are caught up in the whole hype and the afterglow of this episode, and that if they watch the episode more, that it's going to not be remembered as fondly as people are enjoying it right now. I think this is not going to be an episode that ages well. I think people are going to complain about this later.
If Brienne had done it, I would have lost my shit and have been thrilled. Because even if she doesn't strike everything on the criteria, at least she's earned it.
This is already the second worst rated episode of Game of Thrones ever. So
No one. Second to no one, right?
The other Arya episode, the one where she gets stabbed and thrown in the river and then lives somehow.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they've been planning for 3 years that she's the one who's going to kill the Night King. That's why.
That statement pissed me off, man.
But yeah,
I just said that to make you mad, Eric.
Like it was very divisive. Like this episode, and you can really see the division between the book readers and the TV show, casual TV show fans. Kimber and I've been talking about it like all week, basically. Like how much it hurt us. What?
I said I'm not.
Tom's not a book reader, but he's spent 100 hours watching videos about lore.
Yeah, you know about the lore and all those characters and all the extra characters, and you know much more than the casual TV show Game of Thrones fan who watches it just every Sunday and like.
I know, but even for those fans, they should be annoyed that they still set up the criteria for who's the one who should be able to.
People are on the hype train. I saw somebody say that it was the best episode of Walking Dead they've ever seen. Yeah,
that's funny too. That is funny. Oh, no, wasn't it like Roth Carnett, right? Roth Carnett like tweeted that. She goes, it still was one of the best episodes of Walking Dead I've ever seen. So in years, that's what she said. This episode's like John Cena. You can't see it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, can we talk about her coming out of nowhere? And yeah, so that's what we said too. Halo, like he was surrounded by all his generals. There's like 8 of them, maybe 10. A lot of whites. So we're thinking maybe, like some people said, maybe she came from the tree. Like she jumped down from the tree because she didn't have a lot of height. She didn't just like. I think she might have jumped down from a tree, the Godswood itself.
We'll never know.
We don't know, but like, I do have to say the one cool part of it is when the guy's hair flicks and he looks like that was cool. I enjoyed that. And the slow motion switch thing because that was a callback to the fight with Bran. Which if you watch the training of that, like they have a lot of people in tweeting. I think I even retweeted it. The training of that in real life and them doing it was really cool to watch. So I do have like a soft spot for that, but like. As for real story wise, like it really did hurt me. Like I know like Vicky and them, they all like text me like, "Oh my god, that was amazing!" All that. I'm like, no, I hated it. Like
I think it's a missed opportunity as well because we know that these generals, these lieutenants that are there, also if you kill them, a lot of the guys would die. Like it would have been cool for at least one of those guys to go out and you're seeing like Jorah or something out there and he's fighting a bunch of guys and one of the lieutenants gets stabbed and a bunch of the whites just go down and then the fight continues. Like you know what I'm saying? Like there's just so many missed opportunities, and even if you liked the fact that Arya did it, which I did not like, you have to admit that it's really anticlimactic after all these years of setting up this unbeatable villain for him to go out the way he did. It's ridiculous. It's really
like
one tummy stab.
It would have been so much more dynamic if he was fighting 4 people at once, and he was still being cocky with his generals all around him. Like, you don't need help. Like,
yeah, and not for nothing. Like this. Put up right against Endgame, which was also this weekend, like comparing the Thanos stuff, how that was handled to this, it was not there for me at all.
Well, you saw what I said to that guy who saw Endgame, who said like, "Oh, people who say this was disappointing an episode, I can't take it seriously." But then I made the reference. Imagine I'm not going to ruin anything for you. I'm not ruining anything for Endgame, but you remember what I said? Like imagine. I hope you showed Tom that like. Imagine this and this didn't happen, and like someone just came out and just like and that ended the whole thing. And he's like, "Oh, that makes a lot more sense now." I'm like, think about however many years, whatever Marvel Cinematic Universe started with Iron Man, how many years ago that was. But think about 11. So think about more than that, like 20 something years for Game of Thrones. People who read the books, imagine that for them, how much they've invested in this and waited for each book, and now they're past the books. But all we have to look forward to is a show. And to have that happen to us, so like I've been telling you guys, the only stock I have saved in this now is, I mean, I'm gonna still watch the show. I'm gonna enjoy it, obviously. I'm gonna watch the prequels and all that, but I'm hoping that the books are different than the show because
they have to be.
So much more lore. They did this just so George R. R. Martin can have his opus. Let's hope God he finishes all of them. His opus and the way he wants it to end in the books with the prince or princess that was promised, how it should be. That's how I hope it is.
Yeah.
Like that's what in my heart. That's all I'm hoping for. And that's, that is what I, I don't want to ruin for you, Eric. I know you haven't seen it yet. So just like that. I'll send you what I sent Kimber, what I told the guy, the illusion or the reference I made.
But final thoughts for me here. What it comes down to is they ran out of time. This should have been another season or they should have at least condensed the first 2 episodes into one, so we could have a second episode of battle stuff. And they got pushed into a part where they did this Night King thing, build up, but then they ran out of time and they need to finish up all the human storylines. So they had to get rid of them quick, and that's why it's anticlimactic. And now it's like, what do we have to look forward to? Cersei is the big bad of the show. We're going to go fight like Euron. It's like, why even introduce the Golden Company and stuff? They didn't distribute their time well in this last season, and it's showing. And it's a bummer for me.
Well, Tom does have a theory about because I was saying, now the last 3 episodes are going to be Cersei, but he does have a theory about that coming up. We can talk about that a little bit. But let's finish up this episode because this episode didn't end there. We did have one last scene after all the people collapsed. We had Melisandre walking out of the gates of Winterfell as dawn is breaking, and she throws off her necklace, the one that keeps her young. And as she's doing that, she turns into an old lady, and her spirit kind of evaporates from her, and she collapses and dies. And this is what Davos is watching this happen. And that's how the episode ends. In
the Titanic music.
Yeah,
Drop the heart of the ocean.
The greatest history, according to a lot of the fans out there. But for us, it's a little bit different. We don't have the same take on it. But your thoughts on the Melisandre final scene?
It was fine.
Yeah. I think Davos went out there and stabbed her just to be sure.
I was like dead inside by the time I watched that, so I was kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, it did take a lot of it. Like, I still was invested in this episode until pretty much it. I was like, I couldn't see a lot of it, but I did enjoy it. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna take all these cool moments for what they are. We're losing people. I mean, even though we didn't lose main people. We'll get to that when we talk about poll number 2, the quick poll that put up before the episode started. We didn't lose that many, big people, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was cool because I love the Night King's character and all that.
What character? He doesn't do anything.
I always thought they were the weakest part of the show, and this really phoned that in for me. Like it really brought it home.
Because I love supernatural stuff, so I love that kind of all that, dragons and White Walkers and all that. I just love that stuff. So. I don't know. And then, what happened at the end, I mean, as cool as cinematic as it was, for me as a book reader, I can't say that enough. It just crushed me, But with that said, there can be some good coming out of it, I hope. And we're going to go into our champion. So this week, we're going to start with Tom. Tom, who is your champion of the week?
I guess Melisandre.
Melisandre, why?
Because she gave me like 5 minutes of footage I could see in the beginning.
All right. And Kimber?
Mine is also Melisandre, but it's for actual reasons.
That was a reason. I got to see some shit.
No, she did a lot this episode. She had a lot to offer to the team. She lit up the swords, and she lit up the whole little barricades they had. And if it weren't for her, I don't think that they might have made it through. She was clearly the MVP. It was a nice, final, kind of like a redemption for her because she's always been kind of an awful character. And I thought this was nice. Also, I think Theon is an honorable mention. He really did a lot too here, and he got a true hero send-off. And for a character who I never liked very much, it was a nice ending for him. He probably had one of the stronger character arcs in the show. So Theon and Melisandre.
For me, it's going to be 4 weeks in a row, Mr. Theon Greyjoy, because he did put up a great fight in the Godswood, and he's not dead yet. We don't know if he's dead yet. We'll find out next week. But
dead.
He's not dead. Him and Stannis are going to come out on horses. But yeah, him saving Bran and Brett, the redemption that he gets at the end, and not the end, at the end of the episode, at the end of his life, because he's still alive. That was great to see, and saying, you're a good man, and just seeing his face, because Alfie Allen really acts a lot with his face, which you see throughout the series, and that was nice to see. And obviously, I think another honorable mention goes to Jorah Mormont, who
both Mormonts.
He's left. Both Mormonts taking plates left and right, and Liana saying that people in the chat saying Liana is theirs, Theon as well, the Mormonts. A lot of people, Melisandre, some people are saying Liana Mormont. Yeah, we're getting a lot of that. So yeah, that was great to see. Yeah, all those people. All right. So with the good, I don't think we have anything bad for this episode to say, right, guys? We can skip the shame bell. So Tom, remember who are we ringing the shame bell for, and give a moment to ring the shame bell for this person.
D&D.
The showrunners.
Okay, so that's but the showrunners, Benoff and Weiss. So shame.
Shame.
So why? I mean, I'm guessing what all of you said during the episode, but can you briefly sum it up? Why?
The fact that they've
because they ruined it.
If their intention this whole time was for Arya to do this, and they should have given us a minor hint.
Well, there are people who are saying, "Oh, it's been so all along," but it wasn't enough. It wasn't.
All right, Kimber, who are we ringing the shame bell for?
I'm gonna ring the shame bell for. It's funny because side note, I just got one of those top fan badges on Facebook for Jon Snow, this Jon Snow group. But I'm gonna shame Jon Snow.
Okay, hold on.
Shame. This was Jon's moment. Like, this should have been Jon's kill, and the fact that he basically did a whole lot of nothing and screamed at a dragon, and he didn't. I mean, Bran too, to be honest, but Jon should have done more here. This was his chance to do the thing, and he failed for me.
Okay. It's no surprise for me. I think Kimber and I are on the same page again. For 4 weeks in a row, my shame bell is going to Jon Snow. Shame. He did absolutely nothing this episode. He yelled at a dragon, like you said, and also I had to give to Samuel Tarly because he's just a worthless character. But he will write the books though. He will write the books. When it comes to a battle though, he was pretty much a worthless character. But we all know that about Sam. So that's my honorable mention. So 4 weeks in a row for Theon and 4 weeks in a row for Jon Snow for me. I don't know if I can go for Theon next week. We'll see if he, when he rides in on his horse, he'll get another week. Can he go the whole season as being the thing?
Well, Theon won't. So that.
We'll see. I'm still gonna give to Theon for champion. Maybe they'll show some goes off.
Rain is saying so much Sam hate. Rain, I wanted Sam to be the one that killed the Night King. I don't hate Sam.
Howlin' Reed Sam.
Howlin' Reed Arya would have been better, but yeah. No, it would have been cool. Bran did it. Like Bran just came up and just, rolled.
I mean, it would have been surprising if Bran.
Well, Tom is not saying actual Howland Reed. He's saying
no. He got it.
Howland reading them like a verb.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like Bran stabbed him in the back as John or somebody was fighting him. If Arya dropped the dagger and Bran was able to just fall out or to climb a tree with just his arm or something because he's so used to climbing or whatever it is, anything other than what we got.
Bran just wargs one of the lieutenants and stabs him with his own guy.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Sword of the Morning, best character in Game of Thrones. Sword of the Morning, Sir Arthur Dayne. If you haven't checked out my series, The Best Swordsman in Westeros History, by my opinion, check that out. Well, if you do hear that noise in the distance, it's time for a certain thing.
Am I supposed to read it now?
That is our Raven from Castle Black. Unfortunately, our Maester, Jeff, is away with taking care of some family business. We wish him the best. I know there are some, I guess, what do you call it? Weather? Not weather, but whatever you call it, environmental disasters going on over there. So I hope the best for his family, and send all best wishes to him from us over here. So I hope he's doing okay, and I hope to get him back soon. But all our thoughts and prayers are with you, Jeff. And as always, Kimber will take over as the role of Maester while Jeff is away. So we do have 2 polls to talk about this week. As you guys know, the polls will be posted at 9, and they'll be posted right after Game of Thrones ends. So right after Game of Thrones ends, and they show the preview for next week, because that's how I usually make up my poll. After they show the preview for next week, I make up the poll, and it'll end right before the Game of Thrones next episode starts. So this will end at around 8:59 p.m. on Sunday, Eastern. 8:59 Eastern on Sunday. So talk about last week's poll, and then we can talk about next week's poll coming up. I don't know if you have the link for it, but I can just say it off the top of my head, Kimber. So go ahead with poll number 1.
Is it the Night King one?
Yep.
Yeah, so Cal asked, if the Night King raises the dead during the Battle of Winterfell, who will we see? And we had 17% voted for Rickon Stark, which is a safe bet to me. 22% voted for Robb. 28% was other people's suggestions in the comments. Billy thought Hodor, possibly. Eric, of course, said Stannis. I thought Hodor for sure at some point. That would have been really cool. But the winner of the poll was Lady Stoneheart, which is what they should have done. This is like the 10th time they had a chance to do Stoneheart stuff and didn't do it. But she had 33% of the poll, so.
Yeah, I think that's what we all agreed on when I asked you guys, polled you guys last week, who do you want to see? I think you guys said Lady Stoneheart. The second poll was, go ahead, Kimber.
The second poll was, how many major living characters will die in the episode tonight? And 0% voted for 1 or 2. 20% voted for 5. 30% thought 3 or 4. And then 50% of the people who voted said 6 or above.
So I think I voted for 3 or 4, I think. What about you guys?
I mean, I was hoping for 6 or above with the way they hyped us. They were all like, oh, this is going to make the Red Wedding look like a cakewalk. And it wasn't enough. That was another place that they kind of failed, in my opinion.
Tom, did you have a vote?
I didn't vote, so.
Yeah, so for the actual count was 7 if we're counting Theon. So if Theon is dead, it's 7. If not, it's 6. So 6 plus wins it, and that's 50% of the vote. So you guys did a great job with this one. And I just put that up like
10 plus.
I put that up 10%, 10 minutes before the episode started. So I'm glad you guys, whoever said 6 or above, was right. We did have probably more than 6 because if you think about like Alice Karstark, if you want to consider her as a major character, also the leader of the Dothraki, the core, I think it's like Corrin or something like that. No, that's Corrin half-in, but something like that. Quarro. Yeah. He also died, so that's like 8 if you want to consider those people. And some other maybe major house members. But we did have 6 official, 7 with Theon if he's dead. But do you have the next week's poll up without reading the results? Do you have the choices up for next week's poll?
No, I could go look for it. Give me a second.
Yeah, so we have a poll up right now, guys. If you want to go to the Night's Watch Tube Twitter at Night's Watch Tube, and it's going to be ending at 8:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday evening.
And it says, the long night ends. How will Daenerys respond to Jon's heritage and claim to the throne?
And the choices are?
The choices are to accept the claim, accuse him of treason, betray him, or other. Comment below.
All right, so Tom, your pick. What do you think it's going to be?
They're going to bang more.
So she's going to accept the claim, and they're going to get.
Oh, she's going to accept his claim. All right.
I disagree. I had a friend tell me the other day. I was like, Danny's not good at sharing, and he said if she had 2 asses, she'd ride both dragons. So I don't think that Danny is going to respond well now that this stuff is out of the way. So
but Jon doesn't want.
So he's going to be the first lady? I don't know. Other people might want him to have the throne. It's not only her that matters.
So you think it's going to be betrayal?
I'm not sure. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as them banging more.
All right. Yeah. Billy says betrayal. Ray says accept his claim in parentheses, in quotes. So same lines as Tom. I think it's going to be either like a betrayal or she's going to say. Tom, do you want to talk about what you have an idea for? Because I said what the next 3 episodes are going to be Cersei. Do you want to talk about what you said about that?
So it's probably not going to happen, but I'm like, what if they're trying to fake us all out? We know that Night King has some kind of warg ability. He was able to see Rand when he was in all that stuff. Some kind. What if he warged into the mountain before he died? He's in King's Landing right now. There ain't no Valyrian steel. There ain't no dragon glass. It could be interesting. Other than, do I think it's going to happen? No, because that's clever.
Well, that's not what we talked about. That's interesting. No, but you said the next 2 episodes will be Cersei, and then the final episode will be somebody else.
Yeah, I think Cersei's going to have to deal with that.
and then the final episode is going to be against who? Who do you think is the final ultimate villain of the show?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, are they going to do the closing shot with somebody sitting on the throne? I don't know. Like, they could win 2 episodes in, and then the 3rd episode is 5 years later. Like, I have no idea what they're going to do at this point.
Oh, well, all right. Well, what I was referring to is when you said that the next 2 episodes are going to defeat Cersei in the penultimate episode, and the final episode will be Jon against Dany. So that's what.
Oh, I never said that.
That's what, yeah, you tweeted. We talked about it on Twitter.
The best I can hope for is that everyone will pretty much kill each other, and then Sansa and Tyrion will rule together. That's what I'm rooting for at this point.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, we do have an I think the next poll. I think next week's poll is gonna be like about Cersei. So I don't know. Like I don't like I said. I don't know if I want to make any more predictions or anything or get my hopes up because I'm just gonna ride it out as it goes. 3 more. We're halfway through the season. Next week will be. After Sunday will be 2/3 of the season, so like it'll be hopefully it'll be a better ride because people do love Cersei's story arc and stuff like that, and her character. So we haven't seen her in 2 episodes, right? So hopefully bringing her will bring some light back to the show. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll see something different. It'll cheer people up who have been kind of down after this episode, and then people who have enjoyed this episode will continue riding their high into the next episode. Any final thoughts about this episode before we do our...
Yeah, one thing that I didn't get to say all episode, and I'm not going to harp on it, but why the hell was he even there if they only needed to kill one guy for the whole army to die? Why did the Night King go there? Extra stupid. I think it would have been pretty cool if, like, the Night King just flew past Winterfell, started flying towards King's Landing, and then Brandon wargs, and he's the Ravens, and he sees that the Night King going towards King's Landing. So then, amidst all this battle at Winterfell, Jon and Dany realize, oh, we got to go help Cersei because even though she's awful, there's all these people there and they're going to die. And the Night King needs to go down. So we're going to band together with her. And they all go and help Cersei despite her awfulness. Like,
then Cersei blows everyone up as well.
My main point is, why was the Night King there if he was the only one that needed to die? He should have just sat this one out. Very dumb.
I think we talked about that because we're saying the whole strategy is like, why does it even go? If they only had to kill him, I said they could have easily taken that whole place, which they did. The only time they were vulnerable is when he was on the ground. That's the only time they're ever vulnerable. I mean, granted, they can kill the generals, then like the army goes down, but they got all the way up to the gods without any problem, pretty much, right? So they could have easily kidnapped Bran, the generals, and brought him back to the Night King. So there's no point. And if they followed our story with him flying off to King's Landing, that would have been so much better. So, yeah, we were like he did not have to be there.
And they're all saying he wanted Bran, but I fully think that he wanted Bran because the writers needed him to go to the Godswood for some reason. So I think that's like, which came first? Did he need Bran because the plot needed him to need Bran? Or is he going there despite the fact that he's going to get killed because he needed Bran this whole time? I don't think so.
Should have talked.
If he would have been monologuing, I would have lost my mind.
Then it would have been fine. And Ari's like, shut up. Then I would have been like, okay.
If he was like, for thousands of years, I would have been like, it would have been awesome, because he hasn't done anything this whole time. The Night King didn't do anything this whole time, you guys. It's such a weak villain. It really is.
He killed the three-eyed raven while he was
like people are comparing him to Snoke, but at least Snoke like did stuff, man. Like
talked and had personality and showed you uses of his power besides like things that were convenient.
Yeah.
Snoke was great. I like him better than Palpatine. Good thing he's gone.
Let's not get our hopes up for that either. But yeah, maybe I can maybe make another poll before our next episode, just as to lead into our next episode, just as a book reader or something to distinguish between book readers and just casual TV show fans. So I could probably do something. I don't know. I'm just interested.
Yeah.
Father the day man.
They said it in the last episode, Halo, that to erase all memory of everything.
They're making shit up as they go along. Let's be real.
It's like the Superman kiss and Superman 2.
Well, I guess that's it for this episode. You know, quite the episode for us, a letdown, but you know, out there the fans loved it. A lot of the fans loved it, like just the show fans, I should say. You know, and I know some people changed their responses to how they felt about the episode after talking to them. When they first saw it, they came off the high and they watched it again. They're like, you know, someone like Eric who watched it 3 times. You know, and a lot of the also people we follow on Twitter and stuff, like the critics who do the same stuff as us, but have a lot bigger budget than us, all that, who do these kind of shows. A bunch of them were also disappointed. You know, first they had the great reaction, but then watching their recaps afterwards, they're saying, you know, they're kind of let down as well. They went out to the community saying, how do you guys feel about it? Basically what we did to you guys too. But yeah, once again, I want to thank you guys for joining us for this episode. But before we go, we're going to go ahead and do our social media cues. So I'm going to first plug Jeff, who's not here, our Maester. Once again, we send our best wishes to him and his family. But if you want to hit up Jeff, you can always find him at Master Poet. Hopefully he'll be joining us next week. We can jump over to Tom and Kimber next.
Yeah, we have a bunch of content over at Odd Shaped channel, Let's Plays, podcasts, stuff like that. But right now we're focusing on...
Yeah, I run a true crime channel. It's youtube.com/Kimber Bennis. So if you're into like serial killers or just true crime in general, and I know a lot of people get confused. True crime is exactly what it sounds like. It's true stories about actual crimes that have happened, but we're covering all kinds of different stuff like that and conspiracies on my channel. Please subscribe. I'm just getting it started, and that would be really appreciated. You can find me at Kimberbatch_OSP on Twitter. If you weren't blinded by the razzle dazzle of this episode and you want to commiserate, please tweet me. If you don't like my opinions and you're mad at me and you want to say angry things, don't at me.
Yeah, and guys, don't forget all their links and descriptions, links and Twitter handles and all that are in the website, is in the description below. But don't forget, this Tuesday, I think it's going to be 8 p.m. again, Kimber? 8 p.m. Eastern, maybe? Or 9 p.m. Eastern?
For my next episode? Yeah, my next episode will be on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this one is about Nexium, which is the Allison Mack cult.
Sorry,
yeah,
Billy.
So if you're a Smallville, come... Yeah, if you're a Smallville, like Billy in the chat and myself, if you're a fan of Smallville, come check it out. It's the Allison Mack sex cult. And also, she just released merchandise, so check that. Well, that link is in
here. Allison Mack, and I was like, why?
What?
I thought you meant Allison Mack released merchandise.
No, Kimber released merchandise. So please check that and purchase it. If you purchase it, send her a picture of her wearing it so she can tweet about it and put it on her Twitter. So don't forget to check it out. Remember, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, the Smallville sex cult. I'm not going to call it that, but that's a good catchy name. Nexus, right? Nexium. Okay, Nexium. So with Allison Mack. And she might have merchandise, but I don't know. As for me, I am the Kingslayer. You can always find me here on the Kingslayer Network and on Twitter at KingslayerNet Network as well. Oh, not Twitch, at Kingslayer Network. And on Twitter at KingslayerNet. Now I'm on all platforms at KingslayerNet as well. On Xbox, PSN, and I think also on Switch. I don't even know about Switch because I don't really turn my Switch on. But yeah, I'll be hopefully getting back to stream. I was supposed to get back to stream last Friday, but we had a power outage. And it's funny, I was telling Kimber that my power outage lasted longer than the long night. So it's darker in my house longer than the long night. And I actually saw more during my dark power outage during the long night. But yeah, so yeah, you can always find me on Monday, Wednesday, Friday streaming. But remember, my streams are preempted on Mondays and Wednesdays if I have AfterMat on Monday and if I have Night's Watch on Wednesday. So like, I guess for the next 4 more weeks, I guess there'll be no Wednesday streams. But this Friday, hopefully, I'll be getting back to Bully, and Monday I'll be coming out with a new game. However, Monday might not be a stream because I do have family coming from out of town, from Texas actually. My family from Texas is coming to visit from Saturday until I think Tuesday or Wednesday. So I don't know if I'll be streaming or be available on YouTube that much next week. So Monday stream might not happen, but Friday I'm going to hopefully happen unless power goes out. We're having storms still, so but knock on wood. That's pretty much it for this episode. I'm sorry for all the people who really loved it, and we were kind of bashing it on Twitter and all that all week. But everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Like I just said, I did enjoy seeing your guys' reactions to the episodes and stuff like that. That was fun to watch, and also the cinematics were pretty cool for what we saw. I'm gonna put that out there. But yeah, we'll be back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, with some more of this, talking about episode 4. It is right, season 8, episode 4. Until next time, guys. We'll see you then. See you later.